All right, well, welcome everybody. I have a whole gamut of people, some in spirit and some not, but Scott and Richard from Mike Homes Inspections are here today to talk all things home inspectors do on a day-to-day basis, and I thought this would be a really good one to refresh because as we continue in kind of a recovery market, we are definitely seeing the home inspection as a clause that we all, are not getting pushback like we used to. So anyway, all that to be said, I'm going to let you guys take it away and introduce yourselves and tell us all about yourselves before we get into it.
Well, thank you, Rachel. Thank you for having us on your podcast. My name is Scott Piccolo. I am the president of Mike Homes Inspections and the Homes Academy.
Homes Academy. Oh, there's an academy. We're going to ask about the academy. Yes.
I've been with the Homes Group for about 17 years.
Oh, okay.
As long as the Mike Homes Inspections has been around.
17 years. So he got into that part of the business 17 years ago. I guess now that I think about it, he's such a household name.
Yes.
Thank you for being with us, Mike. And to me, I've known his name. I can't even think how far back. I think his son got into it now, isn't it? Isn't he also?
Son and his daughter.
And his daughter.
Mike and Sherry.
I love that. I wish my children listening, I wish they get into trades, I tell you. The millionaires of the next generation. But what did he start out doing? Like was he a contractor? What was his reason to be?
Well, he was a contractor, and
Okay.
then he got had some ideas about a show while he was working on a set for one of the networks. So his intention wasn't to get into TV. He just simply wanted people to be educated and to learn the fact that, if you're going to get a renovation or a home built, it should be done right. And in order to do that, you need to educate yourself. And
yes.
That's sort of what Mike does. Mike educates the general population on
Right.
anything to do with homes. And with respect to Mike Homes Inspections and why he started that was simply because he had a show that the home inspection that started about 17 years ago, and in that show he had realized, during that show he had realized that home inspection was an unregulated industry, and a lot of people were suffering because of that. It was the Wild West.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So then Mike decided after that show, he said, if there's not going to be any regulations, then I'm just going to start one myself, and I'm going to set the bar, and everybody's going to have to meet that, because he had the ear of the general population.
Yeah, and that's really important to know. Can you update me? Because I know there was some talk about regulating the industry, and I'm not a big rules person, but I've just seen so much, and
Right.
and I think when people contemplate purchasing their home, it's going to be probably the biggest investment of their life for most people. And although home inspections are not without their flaws, there are, just like every industry, the good and the bad.
Right.
And having a regulatory body, I think would probably, I think it would weed out a lot. I think it would benefit, the Mike Homes of the world. But I think it would weed out a lot of guys that just kind of open up a book and print a business card and work their sphere. So do you have any update on whether there is a regulatory body? Because I know there was talk of it, or no?
Right. So to understand, there is no federal body that regulates home inspections. It's if it's done provincially, and currently only Alberta and BC have licensing requirements.
Okay.
So you have to be a licensed home inspector or a certified home inspector to get your license, and you have a checklist that you have to go through, and then you have to renew that on a yearly basis. In the rest of the provinces, including Ontario, there is no licensing whatsoever, and I don't believe that there will be anytime soon. There was some legislation that was written in Ontario, and I believe it's 7 years before if they don't enact it after 7 years, then it has to be rewritten, and I believe we're on our deadline. And I'm sure this Ontario government is not focused on that right now. So
wah, wah, wah. Yeah. My thrill of the many levels of government right now with housing. I mean, having said that, I would also say that I'll probably get in trouble for this, but like the real estate industry is also regulated, and I wouldn't say that that does much good in a lot of the spheres. But anyway, I digress. That'll be another episode. So again, as we were talking before, I've seen a lot of home inspections. Mm-hmm. I've met a lot of home inspectors. I was lucky enough to be introduced to Richard through a wonderful client of mine, and we stayed in touch because I was very impressed by the process, his reporting, his professionalism, and obviously this reflects on not only Richard as a person, but also as Mike Holmes and the Academy. We talked a little bit about your competitor in the market. What would you say, sets you apart? Why, that Mike Holmes is really, doing better than everybody else?
Sure. Well, in order to answer that, you have to understand the industry a bit. And most home inspectors, when they graduate or when they get certified and they become a home inspector, they're usually independent owner-operators. And when you're an independent owner-operator, you're kind of depending on yourself for quality assurance and checks and balances and whatnot,
and education
and education. And although, just to go back to the education piece and not being licensed, the good thing now is most insurance companies require certification and require you to be part of an association. So so that does put a few checks and balances in place, and we find that the barrier to entry is becoming a little harder when you look at that.
So they can't just print out a business card and...
Well, I mean, they can, and they can go to someone like yourself, a real estate agent, and say, yeah, I can do the inspection for you and I'll make your clients really happy. But as a real estate agent, you're going to do your due diligence because when lawsuits happen, real estate agents usually fall into that. And a simple question, are you certified and are you insured? And, the only way to really get insured is to be certified and part of an association.
I have a great story that just came to mind to tell you how the industry has totally changed. So I was 23 when I bought my very first house. Long story why I was lucky enough to buy one so young. And my dear real estate agent, who's a very good friend of mine, still Joy Verde at Remax, like salt of the earth. I just look up to her so much. And so we look at this house and she goes, okay, I think we should get a home inspection. I'm like, oh, no. I said, my best friend's dad's a builder. He's going to do it. She will tell the story to this day. He came in, this lovely older Italian man. He's passed to this day, Victor. He was just the most amazing. And he built developments. I mean, this was not without. He literally came in the house, jumped up and down on the floors. He goes, it looks good.
Yep.
So, that old, the dad coming along and killing the home inspection. But, this is where we've come from, someone kind of coming in and taking a look to, again, and by the way, I bought my house for, don't be mad, I bought my house for $163,000 detached at Marley in Eglinton, right? Like this is, so again, different price point, different investment, but this is why, and by the way, my main drain backed up for 6 months. We don't even want to talk about it. God knows what else was in that house. But, I think that, hiring the right person who has gone through the right academy, who believes in education, who believes in that long term. So you had a little bit of a intel sneak peek into what else Mike Holmes offers as well, other than, as you were just saying, not just the home inspection. Because I think this is really unique to you guys. Right,
and I think I'll just finish off what I was saying before is the difference between a owner-operator, an independent home inspector, and a franchise or somebody like Mike Holmes Inspections is we have the ability to put more checks and balances in place, as well as Richard and the other inspectors have the opportunity to network and talk to each other and bounce ideas. And Richard can be doing an inspection real time, and he has 45, 50 other inspectors. He could literally text and say, you know what, I have an issue here, take a picture of it, walk away, continue the inspection, and probably have 10 or 15 responses that's going to help him out. So there's a network there. And as well as all of our inspectors, they go through their training to get the certification. Then they do an accelerated apprenticeship training on top of that, as well as methodology. So one of the big things that's important to us too is how you communicate with a client and a real estate agent, so that one of the things we get all the time, barriers to entry with real estate agents is, oh, you're gonna wreck our deal, or make our deal not happen. And we try to explain to them, and usually once they
That's
do.
not the point of a home inspection, calling all agents, not a home inspection.
Exactly.
Or, by the way, the same agents feel the same way about lawyers.
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, your agent should be making sure that that house is right for you. And they're having that home inspection to make sure that their concerns already, by the way, your agent should be half a home inspector, just saying, right? So, they should be able to understand what the downfalls of a certain aged home are, to be able to look where there might be asbestos of that age, understand. I mean, I've spoken to agents who have never even heard of what Kitech is, which is plumbing, and that's a whole other conversation. But I mean, I think that's infuriating to hear. But anyway.
It is. And with our inspectors, communication is a big part of what we do. Every house has an issue. Every single house out there has an issue.
Oh my God, absolutely. Even brand new ones, by the way.
Even brand new ones.
More sometimes.
And more so.
No, it's true. I have a client who bought a brand new condo townhouse, and it was full of molds before me, not with me. But yeah, I mean, that's reality. And it's a very good point. I will say that when choosing home inspectors for myself, it's very important, very similar to, let's say, the lawyers that I work with, they have to fit my clients. So, if I'm looking for someone who is not going to speak to my client's not interested, just wants to see the report or whatever, that's a different person than someone who's really nervous, who I know is going to come and really hold my client's hand, who's not going to get irritated when they ask them very basic questions to us, for example, and they're going to take the time and say, we don't believe this is something to be worried about, or I would recommend you check it out. But, and again, not that it's not something that you shouldn't buy the house for, because there are going to be issues in every house. Absolutely. But to be able to calm fears, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just how you communicate the deficiencies, and is, I think, one of the problems with an unregulated industry and some home inspectors not having enough experience or education is the need to justify their being there. And some home inspectors will do that by making a big deal out of something small. And we don't. Our home inspectors are certified, they're insured, they have a network to fall back on, they have experience. So we're not there to find something, we're simply there to state the state of the house at the time. And in that inspection, we will find something, but we're not purposely looking to find something that's not there. We're looking to find something. Fair. We're not trying to justify why we're there by making an issue that it's not. At the same time, our inspectors are very qualified to communicate the bad things too. When we do come across the major issues, and they're less than what you think. Out of 10 homes, you may find one home that has a significant
What's
issue.
the worst thing you found?
Oh man, I found broken structural members. I found homes with new construction where there's serious structural issues, where there's structural members that simply aren't supported by anything, because I guess the builder kind of forgot to finish that spot.
I definitely forgot. But that's very kind of you. I mean, it's an interesting point you bring up, because I actually will tell buyers, I don't rely on inspectors for structural issues. I think that, there's that old, I never remember what the Latin part, but like the buyer beware.
Caveat emptor.
Sorry?
Caveat emptor.
There we go.
Latin for the day.
Richard for the win. No, I mean, I think, for me, I'm always looking for things that would affect a client other than obviously structural, which, would be the worst. But I mean, I've gone into basements in Thornhill where, the basements aren't finished and you see the structural and there's a crack or, that type of thing. Having said that, does that house get sold? Yes. Is it, did my clients buy it? No, but there was an active water coming through that crack.
We find those too. We find active leaks.
For sure.
Often.
But I mean, I think that people need to go in understanding what their risk assessment is, right? So, is a crack in that foundation, the hard line for them? Probably. Do you know what I mean? Or is an abatement of $100,000 because they really wanted that house on that street and they're going to get it fixed? Maybe.
Everybody's tolerance is different.
For sure. I just sold a house that had asbestos in the ductwork. Yeah. It was in the home inspection. It sold. Mm-hmm. It was in a part of the city that everybody just kind of expects it. It's left alone. It is what it is, and that's the end of the story, right? So, I mean, I think that, you're looking for things, at least for myself, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm always happy to learn, is, you're looking for things that are obviously massive undertakings for a buyer that would affect the purchase price because everything sells. It's just a matter of how much. Mm-hmm. Something that would affect them getting home insurance. So we did a home inspection on a heritage semi in Bowmanville where there was no firewall in the attic and the other semi had UFI. Am I getting that right?
It's possible, yeah.
Right? And so that's a fire hazard and they potentially would not have been able to get home insurance because the fire wasn't there, and if that had caught fire, it would have caught fire in their house. Right. Knob and tube,
Aluminum
massive
wiring.
Bill to have removed. Also not able to, aluminum wiring.
Which isn't necessarily bad, but...
Yeah, no, for sure. But again, educating yourself, again, there are people who have young children who would never move into a home that has asbestos, for example. Even if it, as we all know, if it's not touched, it's totally safe, so things like that I'm looking for sure. And then I think the other stuff is dripping faucets. I love the slow drain. I mean, and then the other favorite one that I have is the sloping. So I would say probably I've been doing this for now over 13 years, I maybe had one house that had correct grading outside.
That's probably one more than I've seen. So that's a usual problem.
Right. But I mean, negative going drainage. On that, yep. There are going to be things that you're going to see almost every single time, that you have. And so now the question is, clients will be like, oh my God, does that mean I'm going to have water in my basement? No,
but you should address the issue because you may. In the future.
And these are things to give you an indication, right? A lot of things, what we like to do is educate. So I'll educate agents, I'll do presentations at brokerages, and a lot of what we like to do is kind of point out, listen, you guys are agents. Yes, you're psychologists and you're movers and you're home organizers and you're all the rest of that, but here's a few...
Marital therapists.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Here's a few things that you guys can look for on your own when you're showing a house or when you're, pre-listing it that are kind of give you the red flags where you see the negative drainage or that this house is from the 50s. I'm kind of worried those tiles in the basement might be asbestos.
Which is brilliant, right? Because you can tell the size of the tiles or the ceiling.
We kind of give you the pointers to say, okay, you know what? Now it's time to call in the professional, right? This is an issue. I think, but let's call in the professional. And as home inspectors, we do a lot of that too. Think about us we're generalists. We're like the
GPs.
We're the
exactly.
GP. You have a problem with your digestion.
I like that. I'm going to use that.
The GP sends you to the specialist, sends you to the GI guy. So if I come in and I see a suspected structural issue, I'm not a structural engineer.
Right, you know a little about a lot.
That's right, and sometimes it's better to be a jack of all trades than a master of one. So that's what we like to educate. Okay. So then you guys know to call in. It's like that retaining wall is kind of leaning, and I've seen a few other things. I think we should get a professional home inspection to get that opinion, and then we'll point you to a geological engineer for soil conditions or a structural engineer when we say, yes, this is based on our training and the hundreds of hours we have through the Homes Academy. Right. This is the type of stuff where that could be a huge issue.
And if there's young agents, for example, out there who don't necessarily have a Rolodex of great trades, do you guys have people that you refer to, or not so much?
It's a great question. We're kind of like agents, right? So you guys will have a Rolodex of home inspectors, and we don't want to. It's options. So people will ask me that all the time. They'll ask you for
It's
home
tough,
inspector.
right?
Here's 3 that I work with. I like these couple. I've worked with them a lot.
Okay.
So we have contractors. I have some. We'll generally recommend go find someone on your own that you trust.
Sure.
Here's a couple I've worked with in the past, but we like to stay agnostic.
Or here's what you should look for when you're looking for an
looking for a
electrician
contractor,
or looking for a plumber.
Okay.
And I think that the analogy of being a GP is something that we at the Homes Group and Mike Homes Inspections want to sort of retrain the industry, or not retrain the industry. We want to retrain the consumer to understand the importance of a home inspector. So for example, if Richard here is a GP and he's going to, you're going to go to him once a year to get a physical.
Right.
And why do you do that? So that I can be on top of any issues that are happening. And we believe that that's what should happen with your house. You should have somebody come to your house once a year or once every 2 years and do a 14, 15, 16 point inspection as opposed to, say, a full home inspection, but enough to go through. Because if we can identify for, say that it's half the cost, it's $350 for us to come in once a year. Yeah. If we can identify an issue that is small, just like a doctor would identify if you have a type of cancer, they would send you to a specialist, they would treat
God
it.
forbid.
And
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
there's
would
the
treat
Jewish
it.
neuroses there. I'm like,
yes. But they would be able to treat it and hopefully make it go away. And that's the same with a home inspector. A home inspector shouldn't be looked at just a person who comes in or a profession that comes in at the real estate transaction. They should be there with you for the life of the house and be providing you with or giving you access to a portal that will be able to give you information on how to take care of your home, how to own it right. So we always say buy it right, sell it right, but you have to own it right. And if you turn a blind eye, a $300 problem could turn into a $30,000 problem.
It's a very good point, and this is where this whole, it's a great segue because I want to talk about the GP visit that everyone should be having right now as we go into winter, although winters are so bizarre now. But I would also say that the weather has significantly changed things about our homes as well. I have said to clients, when I first started this, you looked at a roof and said, okay, your roof will last you, 20, 25 years on a regular shingle, not a metal roof or anything like that. And I'll tell you, with the crazy winds and storms and now these insane torrential rains that we're getting, I have to tell you, those things are not lasting as long. I will not tell a client that their roof will last 20 to 25 years. So, and I actually so here's an example of what you want to avoid that happened to myself. Mine was easy because I've got trades that will come and show up in my house on the same day because of my business. But, a great testimony to why you should call Richard or Mike Homes Inspectors for your GP visit before the winter. I got a great newsletter from Richard. By the way, I'm sure everybody who's listening has a gazillion newsletters from their agents in their inbox right now. I bet you none of you have from your home inspector. So I would encourage you to sign up for one at Mike Homes Inspections or from Richard, because I got it for myself and I am in this industry and I was so refreshingly surprised. It was great, basic, easy, digestible information. And I thought, this is great content. And this is how this episode came about. So I am in the house and I have water leaking from one of my pot lights in my second floor. Yeah. So
It's not supposed to do that.
No, not supposed to have water coming out of your light. So there's a little pool of water and it's coming from my attic. I know enough to call my roofer. Steve comes that afternoon, gets into the roof and says, you have no insulation in your attic. So now I bought this house, it was brand new. Anyway, long story, won't go into it, but I've never gone in my attic. I didn't have a home inspection. I've actually, because I'm in the business, I will admit I've never had a home inspection on any of the homes I bought, which is horrible. But I've been very lucky. Anyway, so he goes up there, sprays foams, end of story, but it could have been a lot worse, right? And I could have avoided that if I had had someone coming every year to tell me, hey, Rachel, you have no insulation, like literally no insulation. No wonder my upstairs was so cold, right? So, Richard, you brought some props.
I brought, the thermal camera, which is one thing that we would have used. We could have caught that right away. I mean, while it doesn't let us see behind walls, it definitely lets us see temperature differentials.
Right.
So we would have a look and go, oh, wow, the ceiling in your attic, it's -5 out. The ceiling in your attic is -3. Something's not quite right there. And it's interesting you mentioned.
By the way, shoemaker's daughter, like right here. I'm just letting you know for sure.
That's okay. You should see my house.
Yeah.
But it's funny because most homeowners will never poke their head up in their attic, ever.
Well, my husband's up there when we had raccoons.
Well, that's another.
That was not. Yeah, he's still traumatized from that.
And we find a lot of that too. We find a lot of animals that will come in because the trees get overgrown, and it's all about maintenance. And that's why I like to send out those little newsletters to go, hey, the seasons are changing. Here's a few things as a homeowner you can look at for yourself, so that you don't end up with your $30,000 repair bill later.
All right, Richard, take it away. What are those things that people, I know, I'm going to preface, I know we're supposed to change our batteries on our smoke detectors and our carbon monoxide, which is obvious, and hopefully everybody has both of those in their homes. But what are some of the things that people wouldn't think of that are not obvious?
Yeah, that's a great question. And also, thank you for having me as well.
Anytime.
A lot of the newer smokes and combination carbon monoxides will come with sealed batteries. Right, so they're good for 10 years. There's a date on them. That's dead simple. Look at the date on the sticker, and if it's past due,
poor Duracell, all those millions put into their campaigns.
Exactly. It's kind of funny because I should practice what I preach, because as I was coming here this morning, I walked past my smoke detector in the upstairs hall, and it says replaced by 2024. It's like, I got to replace my own.
There you go.
So aside from the smoke detectors, in terms of now the seasons are changing, we want to make sure that our house, our envelope on the outside is in good shape and it's tight. Caulking, for example, around windows or any penetration that goes into your home. We like, part of our education and part of the training through the Homes Academy is we treat the home as individual systems, but then we treat it as a whole. Right? So you have to take into account kind of the macro vision of the house and then the micro vision, and that's how we approach the inspection. So caulking maintenance, which is something I see on 9 out of 10 homes. A good quality commercial caulking will last 15 years, maybe you can squeeze a little bit out of it.
And you're talking like around windows, just to like really break it down for everybody. Yeah.
Around windows, around any openings. You could have a hose connection outside. You could have the vents for your high efficiency furnace. Anything that penetrates the envelope.
Vent covers. Make sure that your laundry vent cover is closed, or you will have critters.
And they're broken all the time. That's
all the time. Oh my God, that's another one. That is a standard next to the sloping.
And
always the vent cover is broken.
And clean them. If you don't have a secondary lint trap on your dryer, half your lint's going out your dryer vent anyway. So when I'm doing home inspections, if they're cleanable, we clean
your dryer vent.
Triangular vent.
Yes, they may call you 10 times a day asking you to clean your dryer, like clean your vents, and you hang up on them and whatever. But the dryer vent should be done.
Yeah,
that could be a fire for sure. That is a fire hazard.
That is a fire hazard.
Yep.
Yeah.
The grading is: do you have negative slope? Is your house grading towards the home, so the water, like we were talking earlier, can pool in? And it may not have started like that. It may have started where everything was nicely sloped away, but over the years we have 3 feet of snow, 1 feet of snow, rain, sleet. It sits there and it erodes and it wears away and things settle. And this is just the typical maintenance. Foundations will crack, concrete will shrink as it dries, and we get shrinkage cracks. They're fairly normal. We start to worry about them when they get, bigger, 1/16 of an inch, but it's the things you want to keep an eye on. It's like, I looked at that crack last year. Man, it's like I can put a loonie or a toonie in there. Now it's getting bigger.
These are in basements you're talking about.
These are in basements.
Yes, unfinished basements.
And in masonry too, we see a lot of masonry veneer, right? We don't build the same way we did, 50 years ago. Now the brick on your house is just a veneer. It's not structural in most cases.
No.
So keeping an eye, and if you do have an older home, that brick is structural. So that masonry and the mortar is holding up your home. So these are things, it's a simple walk around the outside, have a look. Are my gutters overflowing? Are there tree branches hanging over my roof where the squirrels and the raccoons are going to get on, chew through my roof fence, end up in my attic, leaving deposits in there, which aren't pleasant at all.
And they don't look good on home inspections. I mean, I think this is all the non-sexy stuff about your house, right? Like everybody would rather redo their kitchens or their bathrooms or buy nice furniture, and I get that. But when someone comes to buy your home, we've been through enough homes to tell you that wholeheartedly you can tell the minute you pull up in front of that home whether that house was taken care of. End of story. I don't care how well it was staged. I don't care if you painted it nicely. I don't. You will tell if there's lipstick on that pig.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the end of the story. And and I know, listen, times are tough and there's less money to go around, but what we're talking about are, get the dryer vent cleaned. It's about $200. It's not nothing, but it's something, okay? You get a handy guy to come in and you do the caulking outside, again, a few $100s. You have your HVAC guy come in, service your HVAC, your furnace, make sure your air conditioner is covered for the season, make sure it's hosed down, right? These little things will allow you to have longevity in your systems, but also not to have decay, because when someone comes and sees water at the windowsills, it's not a good sign. People don't want to take the stuff you weren't looking after.
That's right. And the thing is, you talk about it, it's a lot about pride of ownership too. I've seen homes that are 60, 70 years old where you walk into it and then it's a time machine.
Oh my God,
it's
we just
great,
talked about this, right?
Right? It's great. And
the tile is
immaculate.
But the tile is immaculate. Like not one is broken.
It is the original 1960s kitchen, but not a single hinge is broken.
The green, the pink, I love it. I love those houses.
They've been maintained. And it doesn't matter whether your home is older or newer. Again, it's about educating, right? So we'll go do a home inspection and we'll say, okay, there's, whatever the particular issues for that home are, we'll list. But here's a whole whack of maintenance items that you guys should be doing, because it's about keeping your property that is for most people the single largest investment you're going to make in your lifetime. Let's face it, the average sale price of a home in the GTA is over $1 million at this point, right? I believe, or pretty darn close to $1 million.
Oh, a house. I mean, I'll tell you, in a good school district in the city of Toronto, you're buying very little for under $2 million. Okay, like so literally.
You're spending that kind of money on your house. Think about, most people drive. Think about your car. You change your oil on your car on a regular basis if you're driving a fossil fuel burning vehicle.
Well, it won't let you. I mean, it literally, like that's the thing. Your car won't let you go forward without doing it. It will shut down. Your home eventually will shut down and it will cost you a lot of money.
Or worse yet, it literally can become a safety issue. And you tell stories, so I'll tell you a quick story, and the property and the name shall remain nameless. But I did one for, it was a tenant in a particular home. They were renting the whole home and they were concerned about the roof. So for many, many years, they were after the landlord about the roof. And as soon as I walked up, you could see the shingle patches because we have a lot of wind now, so roofs get patched a lot. But they're constantly complaining about the roof. Well, what ended up happening was, no word of a lie, the ceiling on the second floor collapsed onto the baby crib. Onto the baby crib. They had taken the baby out 15 minutes beforehand.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh
so
my God.
They called me in because they wanted mold sampling, they wanted the home inspection, because like, what else is wrong with this house? I mean, we've been renting it for X number of years. And we did our thing and we produced our report, and that roof was probably leaking for 5, 10 years. And eventually the home will deteriorate, it will fall apart. So maintenance is really an important part of it. I mean, aside from the home inspection where we'll come in and say, okay, this, and that. And when you fix it, maintain this, that, and the other, so that you don't have these problems moving forward. And that's why I like to send out the little newsletters and the reminders to say, hey, you know what, you've paid us for a service. We want to give you some added value. Mike's all about quality, integrity, and trust. And that's how you build trust, right? By providing a quality service and being honest and upfront about what's wrong, and continuing to support your clients regardless. I always tell my clients, listen, you could have bought the house 5 years ago. I've done the inspection whenever. If you have a question, just call me or send me a text. We're happy to help or provide some type of advice, because this is what we do every day.
It's so great. And it's so aligned with how I work with my clients as well. I continue my relationship as the years go on. And I think that, it's key, especially as we will likely, and I hate saying these things out loud because God knows what the world will bring us, but it's unlikely we're going to see the interest rates that we saw during COVID. God willing, we do not see another pandemic. But one of the biggest trends that I see in this market, and it doesn't matter what price point, is that clients want value for their money. So as we were talking before, home inspections were unfortunately non-existent during COVID because, you had 40 offers on a house and someone did a very, very light touch inspection sometimes on a listing that had a holdback offer night, and it didn't matter. People were just taking whatever they could because there was literally nothing to buy. That's not the case anymore. And I will say that people don't want, if you're not looking after it, why are you asking the next person to take what you didn't look after? So again, even if you're not planning to sell this year, if you're not planning to sell 5 years from now, even 10 years from now, it is so important that you're looking after your home just like you look after your car on a regular basis. And no one's telling you to sink thousands and thousands of dollars, but I will tell you, you will get more for your money. And I've seen it. I have seen homes renovated, yet the rest of the house, they did this beautiful kitchen and the windows are 9,000 years old. Look after the basics. Look after the roof. The first thing people ask, your agent will be asked, how old is your roof? How old is your HVAC system? How old are your windows? They will look at the structure of your home and how well it's looked after. I don't care if you have a Toto toilet. I don't. I can buy one for them. I want to know that this house was looked after. There was a pride of ownership. You'll have people lined up the street if you have that. The rest of it can be solved.
Don't get me wrong. I do love my Toto toilets. They're great toilets. A shout out to Toto. I mean, they're great toilets.
Absolutely. But nice to have. People are not going to pay you extra for it.
That's right.
Exactly.
And the thing is, we don't just do this for real estate. I mean, that is a fair amount of the business. As the properties change hands, we'll do the inspections, either a pre-inspection, which I'm a big proponent of the pre-inspections because
so am I.
If you're going to list your house, you should probably know what's wrong with it before I show up with a buyer.
Well, also, can you imagine the whole process is so, I tell my clients, they're like, why am I doing a pre-inspection now? Why? They get a little nervous. And I'm like, okay, so let me walk you through this. Let's play a game. We put your house on the market. We have no inspection. The people coming along, chances are they're going, depending on the market, they're going to do their own inspection. And we're not going to stop them because they're going to give you whatever money you agree to. And emotional, we think the house is sold, they come along and they find something. To deal with it at that point is a nightmare.
Yeah, let's make a deal and
small,
then negotiate
big,
after.
Exactly.
Because now they're like, well, there's a slow drain. What's a slow drain? Do we have to now replace the plumbing? Is it a matter of Drano? What's going on? Is it the pipes?
Everything.
It's everything. And then I will tell you that as soon as you get into amendments or abatements, the lawyers are ready to jump off the cliff. It's done, right? So better to know prior. And then either you fix it or you say, I'm pricing it based on what we just found.
Right. But it's
Be
not,
who you are.
It's not just the real estate. Yes, that's a large portion of our transactions, but we encourage homeowners, like we were saying, to have us come in once a year or every other year because you may be a doctor, you may be a lawyer, you may not be skilled at construction or at electrical. And that's what we do. We'll come in with a fresh set of eyes that are trained, right, through our system, and we'll let you know, okay, I've had clients ask me, okay, come in, Richard, my home, it's 50 years old, we are empty nesters, we're not downsizing, we're staying here, right? What do I need to spend money on, right? I'm going to accrue some funds, where do I spend them first? And I'll come in and I'll go, well, your windows are original, they're single pane, and you can spend a lot now, or you can spend you can spend a little now or you can spend a lot later because the energy you're going to lose through these single pane windows and the fact that the caulking is also 50 years old, you might want to consider windows. Or your furnace is 22 years old, it's still working. It could work for 22 more days, it could work for 22 more years, but now it's getting to its age. So this is where we like to, again, educate our consumers as to where you're going to get the best bang for your buck.
I love it. Yeah, I do similar walkthroughs with clients for sure. And it's, I believe the last time I did one, I said, please do the windows.
Yeah.
Please do the windows. they did their kitchen. But, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to do what you love and what you're going to enjoy and all that stuff.
It's funny what people look at. You know, we go back to the car analogy. If the car's nice and shiny and it's clean, oh, I'm going to buy that car. But you have no
until you see there's 200,000 mileage on it.
What the condition of the engine is, and I mean, you're in real estate, right? We all do this. We know what sells houses is kitchens and bathrooms, right? So they'll put the fancy
after the structure.
After the structure.
I think that's what's most important. I think when that whole trend came out, like, oh, what sells your house? Your kitchen and bathrooms. But if the rest of it is garbage, it doesn't matter.
And that's what we like to do. We like to educate.
And that's the important part of the maintenance is that sometimes somebody's just so fixated on the kitchen and the bathroom. And the structures, oh yeah, we have some structure issues, you know, we'll take care of it later.
Yeah.
But in a maintenance inspection, they'll say to us, and we do maintenance inspections now, and we want to increase that. They'll say to us, yeah, I'm doing my kitchen. I just want you to come in and, you know, have a quick look around. If we could present them to say, all right, you know, you're going to do your kitchen, but structurally, this is going to happen. So if you do your kitchen now, it's going to end up costing you $100,000 more down the road. So take care of this, maybe prolong your kitchen for a little bit, and or you have to invest a little bit more money. But when you show them that and you actually put it on paper or put it on a computer, then they tend to view it differently. Mm-hmm. Like anybody else, when you actually have the content in front of you, people then view it differently, which is what we're trying to do through a new app that we're going to be launching.
You heard it here first.
So it'll be coming out in the new year. I won't give too much, but generally what the app will do is, for example, if you get as a buyer, you get an inspection during the real estate transaction and you buy that house, the app, what it will do is extract through AI, will extract all of the sort of issues or deficiencies within
from
that
the inspection.
home. Yeah. It'll also pull out things like age of your furnace, when you should change your furnace.
So great.
It'll pull it all out, and then it'll sort of have a picture of the house and all the systems and then all the recommendations. Then you'll just get automatically notified, and we'll come in, and because we already have the inspection report when we've done a thorough inspection, then we can come and do a lighter type inspection, go around the house, more of a checklist and say, okay, this needs to be done, this doesn't mean everything looks good. Hey, you have an issue here, spend the $300 because if that starts leaking through, that's gonna cost you $30,000.
I love it. You guys will have to let me know.
Easy.
When we'll put it in the newsletter for everybody that subscribes, and we'll make sure, please let me know.
Absolutely.
I think this is genius, as we were talking about before. We've wanted to create something like this just in our systems to be able to follow up with clients and say, hey, your furnace is now officially 15 years old. Yeah. We knew it was on its last, you know, would you like to speak to our HVAC guy, you know, that type of thing. But having this on your phone, almost like an engine oil light going off.
Exactly.
It's so brilliant. Well done, Mike Holmes.
And it's you know, the other offerings we have too, if I can just pitch a little
bit
more about our services is so it's not just the home inspections that we offer. So if you do want some type of a specialty inspection, we'll come in and specifically do thermal imaging, or we can come in and do a drone inspection specifically for the roof. A number of our inspectors are wet certified, which has nothing to do with water. It's about wood burning appliances. There's a fireplace hiding behind Mike
and
over
not,
there.
Yeah, not that kind.
Not that kind.
Yeah, no.
But that's important because insurance companies are now asking for it. So as we see the market evolving, as the insurance companies' requirements are different, we evolve with the times. Okay, and it's specialized again to the areas. So we may have some parts of the country where there's a lot of oil burning furnaces that go on, which is really rare here. Yeah. But me personally, because I work in Northern Ontario and all over the place, we may see the auto oil furnace. I'm not a specialist, but as Scott was mentioning earlier, I have a whole list of other inspectors who work on the East Coast, and all they do is see oil every day.
So you guys are across Canada.
We are. We have about 80% coverage of the Canadian population.
Okay. Wow. Incredible. Incredible.
So we'll do all kinds. We'll do septic systems. We'll do private drinking water wells. We'll do log.
Systems.
Oh, those are fun.
Septic systems. So, okay, let's wrap up with one thing that you want to leave everybody with that they should definitely do for their winter checklist right before they call you to come and do a GP visit of their home.
GP visit?
Yeah.
I'll just go back to what I said before. Just go for a walk around your house with a different set of eyes. A quick little trick is how we do it is we kind of start in one spot, we go around one way, we just look up and down, and then we go back around the other way. look up and down. If you see a piece of eaves hanging off or the nails are pulling out of your gutters, it's time for some maintenance. And that's it. If something looks out of place, it probably is. And if you're not sure, call us. There's an 800 number up there.
I love
We'll
it.
book a home inspection.
I love it.
And we'll validate what you're finding.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, guys. This is incredible. I learned so much, really, and I think that this app is going to be such a game changer in the industry, and I hope everyone adopts it, because everyone, and I will definitely be speaking to my clients about it and recommending it, because having that in your phone, being able to understand that, you're the one person to call for maintenance on a regular basis, other than your agent, who should be able to support on referrals. As you said, you like to stay agnostic. So, hey, we just had Richard come by. Thanks so much for the recommendation. He says we need this, this, and this. Who do you recommend? I think it's a great ecosystem. Even when you have your home for 10 years, these are the people that you should have at your fingertips to make sure your home is
Even
in
after
good health.
I know we're wrapping up, even after the 1 year on a new home, before your warranty.
when
We
you
do a lot of
For
those
sure.
things.
Listen, I have a
All
client
the
who's moving in January, and I said the first thing, I said things on the home inspection that they did, I said you need a plumber to do a walkthrough when you first go in, because there are some things that are a little bit iffy, nothing major. Obviously, we bought the house, but let's get a plumber in there just to do a quick diagnostic, check for you.
Yep.
So amazing. Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
for having us. We appreciate
That was
the time,
awesome.
and
Yes.
that was a lot of fun.
Amazing.
We'll have to
Wonderful.
do it again sometime.
Yes, absolutely. Well, maybe we'll have you back when the app is out and you guys can walk us through
Absolutely,
it.
we would love to.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.